Hey, it's Dr. Raymond. Thank you so much for watching my YouTube channel and happy Friday. I hope that you guys have had an amazing week. But for those who did not, you are in good company. It's not that I necessarily had a bad week, it was just extremely hectic and a little exhausting. Or a lot exhausting, depending on how you look at it. So we'll start with a win. I had been working with the owner of the building that I'm leasing for my medical practice on the certificate of occupancy. So like I talked about in another video, he wanted me to sign like a 5-year lease instead of a 3-year lease because they were not sure if the bathroom was going to be ADA compliant and that they may have to do some renovations. But you know, long story short, I only did the 3-year lease. But City of Plano, your automated system is ridiculous. I spent so much time just trying to schedule this inspection. Like, I mean, 20, 30, 40 minutes to the point where I'm almost screaming at the phone, I want to speak with a live representative. Please do something about that automated system. But regardless, we got the inspection, everything went fine, passed it, I already had the certificate, and then I'm supposed to be meeting with the contractor soon to go over colors for the carpet and the paint in the office, which should be interesting because at this point in time I'm not sure what colors I want, so stay tuned. But the second thing that happened this week is I had our first kickoff meeting with the consulting team. So many things happened with that. So first off, I don't know if it was the busyness or I'm just really tired. I showed up to this meeting 12 hours earlier than the scheduled time. So the night, like two nights before, I've just had insomnia for some reason. I don't feel worried. Maybe it's just I have a lot to do, but I just could not go to sleep. Maybe I got an hour of sleep, went to work, was exhausted. So we stopped seeing patients around 4:10. I came home, went to sleep at about 5 o'clock, just completely exhausted. The next thing I know, I swear that my cell phone says 7:15 a.m. and the meeting was supposed to be at 9 a.m. and I had to commute about 30 minutes. So I'm freaking out. I'm like, how did I sleep 14 hours? And I was gonna prepare and do some things before the meeting, so I'm just scurrying around. I have like 10 text messages on my phone. I was supposed to meet someone for dinner. I'm just like, what is happening? So hurry up and get my stuff together, grab my coffee because I cannot live without coffee, drive there. And while I was driving, we had been having a lot of rainy weather. The clouds, I said, it looks so ominous. And I'm just like, well, whatever, just go to your meeting. So I get there and by this time it's like completely dark out. And I can't get into the building, so I'm trying to call and I go to the back and it's completely locked down. So finally I call one of the people on the consulting team and I leave a voicemail and he calls me back maybe 5 minutes and he said, Dr. Raymond, you know, the meeting is at 9 a.m., not 9 p.m. And I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 9 p.m. So while I thought it was 7:15 in the morning, it was actually 7:15 at night. So I hadn't been asleep for 14 hours. It had only been about 2. I have no clue. I just apologized profusely and said, okay, I'll see you in the morning. Got back in the car and got home and proceeded to just do work because of course I'd already had coffee and I could not go to sleep. So I'm like, this does not bode well. So the next morning I get there without any other events and I apologize again. He just starts laughing. And so we have our meeting, and the positive thing about the meeting was a lot of the things that we were discussing regarding implementation from now until October were most of the things that I had already either started on, had thought about, or was in the process of doing, or even had completed. But there were some other things that I was completely unaware of that needed to be done. So they had already emailed me the credentialing packet, where you decide which insurance carriers you will take as a physician, and then there's this whole credentialing process. So I had briefly looked over it, but we talked about it in more detail at the meeting. Then there was a portion that I saw where it's called CLIA, and you have to have it if you're going to be performing laboratory procedures. So I had already set in my mind that I was not going to do phlebotomy in the office. I would wait a year, see where we were, and then, you know, we do that in the office. So I did not realize that this includes any testing. If you're going to do rapid flu screens in the office, strep testing for strep throat, even if you're going to do urinalysis, you have to have this certificate and the training, which is like 20 hours online plus $575. And I was just like, oh my goodness. But the big kicker was they were saying, which I did not know this, that I need to get hospital privileges. If anyone knows me, I hate hospital medicine. I never want to work in the hospital ever again. So I'm like, I'm not admitting anyone to the hospital. Why do I need these privileges? So apparently you need it for the credentialing with the insurance companies. And they were telling me you can just get courtesy privileges where you don't admit or anything. You're just, you know, affiliated, and there's 2 hospitals nearby. So they're telling me that, and they're like, oh, it's usually around $1,500 and it takes 120 days. What? At this point, I will be honest, I started freaking out. There's just all this money to shell out. Then as I'm driving back home after this meeting, and I'm like, medicine is the biggest scam. I just started to get so angry. Like, a lot of people, a lot of medical students and residents graduate finally with like $500,000 to $1 million in debt. There's so much money and time you shell out. And at this point, people want to buy a house, you know, save some money for the kids to go to college. And you're just like, my goodness, can I catch a break? But, you know, then I calm down. I'm like, you know what? Either you're going to have faith and you're going to trust God, or you're not. So I'm okay with it. But this is still like so ridiculous. But anyway, we have a plan in place. So the plan is to finish all those things this month and then move on to other pressing matters. And then the last thing, so to cover these expenses, I got another job moonlighting basically as a visiting physician. So I was extremely excited about that. It's largely a geriatric or elderly population, which I adore. I love elderly people. So I was so excited about it. And I did all the training, the compliance training online. And they send me like an iPad, UPS mail, like a 2nd-day delivery or 2-day delivery, whatever it is. So I am the wrong person to mail a computer in a box to. My technical skills are pretty much non-existent. Like, it's a miracle that I can use my cell phone or a camera. In that aspect, I'm essentially a 88-year-old woman. Like, I can barely operate anything. So they send it to me on Tuesday, and then I'm scheduled to work a few days later. And to be honest, since I know I have no technical skills, I should have opened it up sooner, but I decided to wait the night before. And it wasn't extremely late. It was around like 5 or 6. So I open it up, and there's minimal amount of instructions. I cannot turn this thing on. So I start Googling things, and then I'm like YouTubing it, and it just will not turn on. And I was like, oh, what is happening? Did they send me something defective, or am I the defective one? And so I'm just frantically calling like everyone that I know and FaceTiming people like, help me figure this out. I can't figure it out. And of course, because it's just like my luck, the IT department closes at 7, and by this time when I finally found the number, I think it was like 7:15, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do. So I ended up FaceTiming one of the first year residents. We work in clinic together, and he's trying to help me. I'm like showing him the different buttons and what I've done, and he's like, press this, unplug it. And the whole time he's like laughing at me because I'm super frantic. We just had this meeting. I have all these things to pay for, and I need this moonlighting job. I need this extra money. And I'm just like, I don't know what to do, because like I said, it's basically a visiting physician. And once you log on to the application, it shows you your schedule for the next day, but there's no other way I can get access. So I'm just freaking out. It's like a mini iPad or something, and it has a keyboard, and I charged it overnight, so I don't know what's going on. I'm almost in tears. Like, I have no clue what to do. I can't get anyone to call me back. I'm emailing people. So finally I figure it out. I take off. I guess you're supposed to turn on the iPad before you turn on the keyboard, because the keyboard just has the power button for the keyboard. I know it sounds so simplistic, but I told you I have no technical skills. So I figured that out. I take the iPad out from the keyboard and turn it on. You know, you have to establish a passcode. I do that. Then I try to get into the application. So I'm entering in my information and it's not working. And then of course I lock myself out. So then I'm trying to email more people, and I'm really freaking out. I'm like, I'm not gonna do this, and this is my first day, and if I don't show up, they're not gonna let me work. I have all these bills, like all this stuff, just worrying way too much. Long story short, somebody from IT finally emails me back, and they unlock it for me, and I'm fine. I see my schedule. I go the next day to work. Goes without a hitch, completely fine. And I had a great time, because like I said, I love elderly people, and they're so excited to have people come visit them, so they want to tell you their whole life story. But that was my week. So I just want to tell, you know, people that are plugging away, they're working really hard, you're working really hard for your dreams and your goals. You may have weeks that are just insane, and you're like, why did I do this again? Why did I sign up for this? I could have done something so much easier. It's normal. Just don't forget the end goal. You know, we've been talking about purpose. You know that you have a purpose. You know what God calls you to do. Don't lose sight of that. You know that everything that you need, you already have. And apparently I don't need really good technical skills, because I lack that. So I can walk in confidence knowing I have this weakness, but God called me to do this, so I should ultimately be able to do it without those skills. So, you know, keep at it. Don't let frustration and busyness and some upsets get you down. You are more than able to do this. Next week we will probably be working on the interior of the office. Hopefully I'll have some pictures. We'll be able to do a walkthrough, and then we're preparing for graduation. So stay tuned, be well, continue to dream big, think the impossible, do the impossible, and I will see you next week bright and early Monday morning for our Rise and Grind to Shine. See you later.